Oh, big hugs, fam. Here I am. Life's been crazy. I feel like I have so much to share about. I have a lot of friends and people, and myself included, going through a lot, and have gone through a lot, and have lived a lot. And often I meditate, and so much in my vision is, how do we work through those things? What are the major issues we face? And how can I help my friends and family? I don't know if it's ever happened to you. Maybe you have a friend who's going through a hard time and they share with you about what's going on. And maybe in your life in that moment, things are going well, you're doing all right. And, you talk to your friend and it's almost like, man, come on, get out of there, feel better already, and not only that, but then you can also kind of see the details of what they're carrying. Like you can kind of see how they need to get out almost. It makes sense to you. But for them, they're in the middle of it. And too often, people are collapsing under that weight. And all this to show is often we can see the details maybe of a way out for a friend, but often for ourselves, we can't see it. And I think that goes into a huge area of life that often isn't discussed. Everything that we can see in a brother or a friend or sister, we can flip back on ourselves because we go through those moments too. Several things that come and stand out to me that I feel like I want to bring awareness and just hit and create content around, and because they've been so life-changing for me. And I see videos of people, every day is kicking a rock around, and that's great. But maybe if I can talk about these things, maybe it can help someone feel better. And that doesn't mean, kicking around a rock doesn't make someone feel better. But those moments when we're alone, when the world's crashing on top of us, when we're panicked, and that's one thing if it's just a couple hours an afternoon, but when it's day in, day out, for months, years, so many people don't make it through. It can mean that they commit suicide, but that can also mean that their hope is drowned in pressure and weight. The joy in their life is robbed. Maybe their emotions are cut off, but they're so used to it and they don't know anything different. And I speak about these things because I've lived them and I am still working through them. But I feel that what I can do here on earth is to give what I've learned, and maybe someone who is facing that right now could benefit, as I know that I benefit from hearing stories and ways that people have worked through things. So I think the first part here, it's interesting, is kind of an awareness for me around isolation. And that might sound like a very strong term, but our society is very much, everyone to themselves, especially with deeper things. This isn't for everyone. And if this is too broad and general for you, take it in what you want to leave and whatnot. But in that, we lose a key factor in life, which is what I mentioned earlier about maybe seeing that pain or that struggle in a friend. And that's not about going and bombarding them and, oh, you got to do this. No, but I think what it speaks on is a deeper truth in our world, that we all need each other. That maybe I could say a message in my head 50 times, but when I hear you say it, it just rings deeper, and it helps me to actually take steps out of where I actually am. And what happens and what I see, what happened to me is that when you are alone, maybe, we're busy, work, life, home, this, that, and the other, so many demands, we need finances, we need this. But when we miss out that piece of maybe helping a friend, kind of what life is about gets twisted around, because what life really is about is being there for one another. I've searched and sought, and what I see, the deepest root core factor of what is existence, and this is maybe speaking to you, but just as a general theme, is looking someone in the eyes and saying, I'm here for you, and then living it out, being there for them. I lived, several years in Chile, Spanish-speaking country. I left my house when I was 18. And at first, it didn't really sink in. All this stuff is new. Again, really the phrase, you don't know what you don't know. So much of life, we think we have so concrete, maybe because we live it every day, or maybe no one's ever brought this factor to our attention, but this is a key theme, that our frame of reference is here. But so much is happening outside of that we can't see right now. So much of the panic and the worries we're living isn't here, but if we were to see a bit wider, to see the details a bit more, we would have a better picture. And so when I moved to Chile, I was just living it, but what I realized is that if I didn't reach out to anybody back in my hometown, no one would really reach out to me. Luckily, and that's nothing to say about everybody that I know. No, I think I've learned that it is a factor, human factor. We live with what's right in front of us. And as I analyzed that, I could see that there is a lot of separation. Even, in the US, even houses are very separated. And the only way to break that is intentionality. And there's a lot of that in this world, right? But when we don't have that. And so what I realized in this is that we all need each other. That when I'm isolated, when I'm alone, when I'm not connected to anybody, the deepest factor for me, when I was in a new country, I didn't know anybody. Yeah, we might have had programs and classes every day, but when that class ended, I remember one family that I got to know, and, they didn't have to do this, but specifically me, this woman, she invited me over for lunch with her mom, her family, and I can't describe how that felt. I couldn't even comprehend how powerful that was. So many people who go out their way to reach out, all of those moments of intentionality where someone sat with me and listened to me, that is what life is about. And when we lose that key factor, what does life become about? Not only about like what I'm physically doing, right? But on a greater theme, I think you lose the sense to be needed. And so what I've found in my life, a lot of my life, I've been a full-time volunteer and asking for support and asking for help. And often asking for help can be a sign of vulnerability, and we shy away from it. We have to have our life together, and I get it. We do. But there's something about, for instance, if I'm asking someone for help, that then engages their sense to be needed. When we see a friend who's in need and we take time to listen to them, to hold on to them, and they are like benefited from that, it sprouts, brings light to the sense to be needed. Helping out a friend and to feel needed. And I feel like where I lived before, everyone's got their life together. But for instance, living here in Mexico, helping out with a construction project or someone who needs help. And all of that has really encouraged me to try to bring these messages as well, because oftentimes I can speak to myself, like, who are you? And so first I started talking about reaching out to a friend and seeing them in need, right? And you can see those themes in their lives and how important it is to flip them on you, because they might be going through and you might see the keys of where they need to go or to get out of that, but they can't. And in reverse, there's always moments where we go through that. And then going into this dynamic of we need that interaction. We need to be needed. And going into then vulnerability of oftentimes we'll never ask for help because we've learned to hold our life together, to not be vulnerable. And what that does mixed with isolation is when we're not vulnerable asking for help, that is not building up someone's felt need, that they are needed. And then they isolate and they keep away their vulnerability. And then we kind of live in a place where everything's okay, we're good, but it's not. But how do you talk about it? Who do you talk to it about? And so I think this brings to light a very powerful act. First, knowing that we're needed. We have to know our worth, that you are so important. And here's why. Because if you take time to listen to someone, intentionally call them out, listen to them, you could save their life. And then the action here, because it is a chain reaction of when we ask for help and give someone the opportunity to be needed, we receive help, but then it creates a chain reaction where that person might be more encouraged to then ask for help as well. This is a chain reaction. The other side is a chain reaction as well. Everything's always okay. I have my walls and my separation, and right, we're not going to vomit everything. We need safe spaces. But when isolation meets with I am not needed, meets with mental, emotional battles that we're just carrying on our own, we live in a world of people who are collapsed, but we learn how to get by. Maybe like you, like me, they're part of lives that we are not aware of. There's a scope that we're not aware of. And so maybe we have a system and it works pretty well. But I don't think that this ever ends of deepening, of reaching out to a friend, of asking for help, of being intentional to call someone, to seek them out, to see how they're doing. And if right now where you're at your life, things are pretty good, remember the moment where it wasn't. Who did you call? Did you have someone to call? Or did you just have to hold it all in and carry it on your own? We can be that person for someone else. And maybe you don't hear it enough. I know that maybe I haven't heard it enough. But we all need to hear that you are important, that you are a light to your family and your community. You are needed. I was chatting with a friend and he was telling me how unfair life is. And when we face hardships in life, some bounce back and are so grateful, others, we can stay in that negative, like F this. And he was telling me how he really saw that suicide was the only way out. This was 2 weeks ago. That it would be better for his child. So what is going on here? Maybe this serves as a circumstance where we can see details maybe in a different example. And if we want the invitation always, and really is a superpower to pull it back on myself, what is going on in his life? What is he facing? What is really going on? The day in, day out grind, the divorce, where he was giving everything, his wife left with his son, heartbroken. What do we do with those things? And he tries to stay busy, keep active, work hard, but at the end of the day, it's still there. It still hurts. What do we do? And maybe there isn't an answer. Maybe there is. But I think the most powerful thing here is to question. It is to question. Because if we don't, these cycles repeat and continue. And who is there with us in that? You are needed, fam. You are so, so needed. And what you're carrying right now, it's real and it's heavy. What do we do with it? My encouragement here is to look at our lives, to question this area. Could give simple answers, ask for help. Go and be there for someone. And I do want to emphasize that. But I always go at, well, what's below that? Why don't we do that? What is really going on here? And I think we all adapt, we all live life, and we just adjust. This isn't a conversation, for instance, probably really ever had with anybody. And if I do, sometimes it's that friend seeing kind of this open vulnerability and telling me, how to feel better. And it's not that I feel bad, but this is a discussion. This is an area we all face. And I think a huge encouragement would be to take this and discuss it as well. Bring it to the table. I've been in so many groups where I might reflect on a thought or something. At the end, there might be, hey, okay, is anybody having a hard time and they want to talk about it? Once a week. But we're all going through so much every single day. What do we do with it? Image comes to mind, driving a car just on the rims, without the plastic tire. But what if that was normal? And it brings to mind also IKEA. Imagine you live in a room, it's very simple. Maybe even have a tin roof, a little disorderly, maybe just a bed. So what happens when you go to IKEA? What IKEA does is it speaks to deeper themes of how we change and grow. And before we can change and grow, we have to see it. IKEA shows you rooms that are fully decorated with its furniture. What that does is it gives you an image, oh, my room could be like that. And you start to look at your room. Man, my room isn't doing very well. yeah, maybe I could upgrade it with what IKEA has. And as a principle in life, we have to look at, how we grow and adapt, how we've learned, how we've come to the place where we are with the understanding that we have now that then results in the actions that we take. So imagine, if I'm living in my little narrow focus, which there's always more, but I hold to that this is the only way. And then I get to the end of my rope, and I'm struggling. Then what? There's no way out. And then I'm isolated. Can't talk to anybody. But I got to get up and go to work. So you live in this violent washing machine. The only way you know is to push through. And that's heavy. So seeing these factors, 1, having this conversation, 2, knowing how important you are, 3, being there for your friend, that is important. You are needed. Asking for help, being there, being intentional, and questioning. Is there more outside of the way that I view things now? And again, I'm not here to push any other thought on us. I'm here to explore. Are there ways to process what I'm going through that I haven't learned yet? How did I learn my current method of dealing with what I'm going through? Huge area of this too. If I'm so convinced that this is the way, lots of times we all need to be aware of and analyze, what is my relationship with vulnerability? We all have that moment. We all can remember that moment when it wasn't okay to be ourselves. When we were rejected by a kid at school and made fun of us. Maybe we weren't affirmed, or maybe just the social environment, we want to be accepted. So what do? Sometimes we believe the lie that I'm not enough. And so we cover up. We try to talk a certain way. We learn not to be vulnerable, because vulnerable is when we got hurt. But vulnerability comes when we ask for help. How can we expect someone to be vulnerable with us while we're not vulnerable at all? How do we start to really work through with what we're going through and take off that baggage while we're just pushing it all down and saying everything's okay? It's so powerful to question. And in all of this, I'm speaking on so many things, but I think a huge encouragement is slow, soft awareness. Sometimes, again, we're in our narrow view and I got to do this, I got to do that. And it's like driving down the road in your car and, you just got a new paint job because that's what you needed to do. And your car is making crazy noises, it's clunging down the road. And, you got that new paint job a week ago because you were convinced that was it. But then it hits, dang, what's going on here? Why is my vehicle this way? And maybe we're pretty good at not looking at it, but it comes up. And so sometimes, again, it's like, oh, you know what it is? Actually, I got to get on this other road. When I get on this other road, then I'll be good. And maybe you get there, the new paint job on the new road, but the car, struggling. And we can get really hard on ourselves. I know that I do. And we can just be, I got to figure it out and sit more, and slow, soft awareness. These themes, when we bring them to the surface, ask for help, listen to someone, encourage ourselves. Know that we are needed. You are needed. Life often gets so focused around work and stuff, but it's your relationships. That's what matters. Yeah, the other stuff too, but that's where life is from. When someone looks you in the eyes, here for you, I see you. So to anyone out there who's maybe resonating with this, I see you. Take the courageous step to be vulnerable again. Can't hold it all in. You weren't meant to. Imagine if you were a baby right now, just figuring life out, all alone. You think a baby would learn how to walk if it was in the same circumstance as you are now? Who's encouraging you? Who's listening to you? Who's giving you hugs? Reach out. Reach out to someone. How's our vulnerability? Are we trying to defend? Slow, soft awareness. Be kind. Change comes through awareness. Start to write out how you feel. Put it in words. You know, this part of my day is really hard. And there's a famous phrase that says innovation meaning coming along something new, maybe stepping outside of our frame of reference. Innovation comes from contemplation. Contemplation meaning thinking about it. And oftentimes for us, there can be a big disconnect between, we know what's wrong, we can see it, we can think about it, but we're carrying all the weight still. So contemplation, I kind of don't think of it as just some heady thing, but the concept is the same, where to build a new way, we have to think about what's going on, weigh out how the current way is, how it's affecting us, how we feel the weight of it, how it's affecting the areas of our lives. And I'm not saying this because something you need to do, but I think if I personally would have understood these factors more, because oftentimes we want to change and grow, but where do we start? If someone would have kind of helped me see these, it would have helped me a lot. And always there's still more for me to do in this area, but putting it in words, this is hard. Seeing that issue, sometimes writing out the problem is the greatest step forward towards change. How is it weighing on me? And the slow, soft awareness is an attitude as well of encouraging that this is going to take time, seeing it, maybe seeing, maybe there's something I'm not seeing here, looking at that area. And in that thinking, innovation will result. It will flourish from that, new ways of seeing it. But if we just push through, probably just going to keep repeating through, and it's frustrating. And the energy it takes to try and then fail again often leaves us hopeless and just, why try? But if we are slow, soft with ourselves, things can change. And to pair that with little times to conquer, little times to conquer, or little time to conquer, meaning slow, soft awareness, SSA, is a mindset where you need the contemplation, right? But contemplation is a physical act. And so little time to conquer is a time you take to sit, to embody the SSA, slow, soft awareness, feel, be aware, start to piece it away, chip it away. And what comes to mind a lot is this kind of vision I had of lots of times we face a wall in life, and it's a lot of areas. We can't see the whole board. There's a lot of things affecting us that we can't see, but it's a wall. And this wall will be here until you conquer it. And often for our strategies, just leave the wall there. But I think the powerhouse is the slow, soft awareness. Slow, soft awareness. Little time to conquer. Vulnerability. Open up this conversation, fam. We're all part of this. Yeah, I'm sharing about this, but I think this is a powerful catalyst of how can we start to have these conversations. I don't know if it's happened to you, but I have a friend and they're going through a ton. They're carrying around the weight of the world, but you can't talk about it. And maybe it's not to talk about, it's to be there. It's when someone's open, but maybe talking about how we process these things and what it looks for one another can start to bring different movement. And all of this, again, the tendency is to see it in friends and be like, oh, they're struggling. I don't think that's the way. Be there for someone, listen to them. Maybe ask, hey, can I share with you an idea? But often when we're broken and crushed and someone just keeps rambling on, it's like, yeah, shut up, man. But you're not going to say it. And the key here is the flip. So if you have a ton of friends, family, if you know people who have committed suicide, if you see people who are struggling and don't know what to do, flip it on yourself first. This is the place. Little times to conquer. Awareness. Because I can guarantee your advice isn't going to make your friend change their life. But through analyzing what we're living, seeing the narrow perspective, observing our relationship with vulnerability, asking for help, do we feel needed? Those are things that can start to really change our lives. Before, I was just struggling and trying to get through, and I didn't see these things. I didn't realize there was this whole other thing going on. And I was crushed. I would wake up every morning, roll a blunt, spend my afternoons just doing laps around the lake, seeking something different, not knowing where to start, but having to continue and not really having someone to talk to about it. We can be that difference. The difference starts with us. Is the way that I'm doing this right now the only way? Is there something in life that's weighing on me that maybe I've just gotten used to? Is my strategy for resolving conflicts with my wife the only way? How do I respond? What are those moments that pressure me? What are those things that I've gone through? What do I carry? Slow, soft awareness. Maybe right now, everything's not going to change. But I can guarantee you that if you continue to look at this way, continue glancing over here, looking at your life, little times, kind to yourself. Look at that vulnerability. Do I feel needed? Reach out, ask for help. Reach out to your friends to be there for them. We are them. The issues that they're facing, we are facing, but different. So what are the core roots of all of these issues? Looking at how we've grown and what we've learned, how we've adapted to how to live, how we hide and protect, how we seek love and acceptance, how we try to prove our worth, how oftentimes we're isolated and we don't feel needed. You are needed. And these words are so much as for you as for me. Oftentimes we don't know how to start. For me right now, I'm just making this, getting out, flowing out. Oftentimes I make these and I don't do anything with it. I get too complicated, slow and soft. Biggest hugs, fam. What are these underlying things, this undercurrent that directs our lives, from what we've learned. Maybe we can't see it as it directs our lives because we've learned it that way. Oftentimes when we're rooted in protecting ourselves, we affirm it's this way, everyone else is wrong. It's dangerous. But we can see, for me, even just realizing that I was defending myself, but aware, look at these things that are directing our lives. What are these loops that I keep going on that I don't like? And oftentimes for me, it's affecting my wife. Speaking out because it's all bottled up. Little times to conquer. And this grid of things that I can't see, these different areas, the emotions, the mind, how to process, what to go through. You're doing a great job, fam. Even just getting up today, even just maybe making lunch, taking a shower. It's a big deal. We live in a world and we see these videos and just constantly feel behind. Just want to say that you are enough. You are enough. Just as you are. You are loved just as you are. It's okay not to have everything together. It's okay to feel broken. It's okay to ask for help. Slow and soft. Get it out, put it in words. Take time to breathe and feel, and you don't even really need much more. It'll adapt. It's weird at first, but I kind of see it as it's like a city, and we know every single street. We live there, we know it. We know it can fill us. The work, the pleasure, maybe alcohol, whatever it is, we know it. We know it all. We know it all. We've seen it, that drive to work. It doesn't change. That's why I talk about these things, because it's not the new road or the new paint job. It's inside. It's not this brute force change and try harder. It's what's going on. That hurts. They said to me. These things are like cuts. They get infected. Try not to look at them, but they're there. It's time to start to look. Sometimes we don't know where to start. It's overwhelming. Go slow. Take time. Give it space. Let it come to the surface. Ask someone to help. Talk to them and just, hey man, I just need to feel heard. Struggling with things. Can you just listen to me? Try it. Doubt any of your friends would not do it. And that would be a catalyst to open the door for maybe they would do it. Focus on your healing. If you see your friends hurting, be there for them. And if you really want to help them, go in. Little times to conquer. Breathe. It's weird at first. Dive in. That's what we all need. We need space to empty our cups. But as long as we keep holding on, I'm good, I don't need anybody, it just keeps continuing. And so, where's the space for something new? In that example with the city, know it all. And we think that it'll change, doing the same things, and we think it'll change. We've learned ways to not deal with our emotions, to push them down. We think we know them because we live them every day and we're good. There's more going on, so much more. That really came to me in realization when I moved to Mexico. And first night I got there, it was rainy. And that night we sat at the dinner table, probably a group of seven people. We sat there for hours talking. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks, literally, But what I realized was I literally had not spoken, physically spoken that much in over 6 months. And that just knocked me, like I had not seen it. I had not seen it. And it was killing me. Everything that I'm telling you about now, or not even trying to tell, trying to bring a discussion about, was killing me. I was dead inside. But I put on a happy face, and I didn't, even what I'm saying there, I didn't realize I was doing. I just was. I was reacting from what I had learned and responding. And so for me, it's just so bizarre to pull out and be like, okay, everything that I see, maybe there's a little more to it. And that gives me hope for something to change. Not just to keep repeating the same thing, but slowly becoming aware of that first. Something I don't see. And not just holding, no, it's this way. We use it as a defense. Slow, soft awareness. Taking those times to breathe. You are needed, fam. Let's go. And what I call this is the undercurrent directive grid. Apart from all of the upper topics below, what we've learned, these things going on that we've never questioned, there's a current things guiding and directing our life. And there's a grid of areas that, like a map, in a video game, that are undiscovered, that we can't see yet. And if you're interested about that, I'm creating some stuff about that. There might be a link here, maybe not. And then also, fam, just again, there's so many people walking alone. And the greatest way to help them is to be intentional, be there, not try to solution everything. But if you really want to help, dive into yours. And as you dive into yours, maybe there can create a discussion or a chat, or look, I'm working through this and something has to change. And so maybe you could share this video, or maybe create one yourself about what you're going through, or about what I'm talking about. And my goal is to keep creating these, to keep talking about this, because I've gotten so stuck in how I gotta create this newsletter, and I suck at newsletters because I'm a verbal processor. But I want to bring these to the table, because each piece is so profound for me. And I believe it is these human factors that oftentimes we can't see, but when we can talk about them, it's like, for me, it was like living blindfolded in a boxing match. And when I saw these things over years and years and years, it was like taking off that blindfold, and maybe I was still getting hit, but now I was like seeing them in slow awareness. And then slowly, then I could be like, okay, move out. Oftentimes we're carrying around things that we've just gotten so used to carrying around, so used to the weight. And I just want to say that it doesn't have to be that way. And I hope to transmit even hope, encouragement, as I need it as well. Big hugs, fam. Let's go. If you could comment anything that comes to your mind, any of these areas, bring them in the comments. Let's get this discussion going. How do we do it, fam? What do you do when you're in a place where you have no other options and you're feeling crushed? Who do you reach out to? What does change look like? If we all start asking these questions, every individual, we are them. People are walking alone. We are all walking alone in different areas. If we start asking that question, if I ask this question and you ask this question, and we all start asking this question, the whole world can change. We are them. We are the world. Biggest hugs, fam. Go reach out to your friend. Call them up. Get together. You are needed. This world needs you. And literally, you could be saving someone's life by asking them how they are, by grabbing them on the shoulder, here for you, and then doing it. Biggest hugs, fam. Yeah, and my name is Bryce. I currently living in Mexico City. Past 5 years living in community. Getting to know my neighbors, walk out the door and so much going on. Before I didn't realize how much I needed that. Feel part of something. I've had these messages on my heart for so long, and so I'm just trying to piece them together. I'm a full-time volunteer. If you see this message and you see the heart in it, and you see it, you see it. You see it. It's not just, but you see it. And you want to partner with us, even just reaching out and we could have a conversation about this. That would help me out so much in seeing how I can do that. I'm going to be putting out a questionnaire. And yeah, I'm going to try to create some, digital products around this just because it helps. And there are things that I would like to see. But yeah, fam, been searching for a long time, and this is kind of what I've pieced together over these years. It helps me out every day. Couldn't see it before. Doing a great job, big fam. Big hugs, fam. Slow, soft, let's go.